Since 2002, the Aqua Terra has been a fixture of versatility in the Omega lineup by taking elements of the Seamaster diver family with a dressier approach by comparison. What made it all the better was that there were very few technical shortcomings that came along with this approach, still delivering 150 meters of water resistance, good enough lume, and also being a playground for magnetic resistance. In this video, we look at what I would say is not only the most versatile Aqua Terra, but the most versatile Omega watch in general. This is the Aqua Terra Black Lacquer at 38 and 41 millimeters. When the first generation of the Aqua Terra was released, it was an everyday piece that effortlessly fused refinement with real-world durability, with 36, 39, and 42 millimeter variants in steel or gold on offer. This first gen series received an upgrade in 2008 with the in-house COSC certified 8500 movement with a coaxial escapement. Omega continued in its expansion of the lineup with variants that included chronographs, GMTs, an annual calendar, and some unique concept models. A significant milestone was reached in 2013 with the release of the ultra-magnetic resistant Aqua Terra, the so-called Bumblebee. Instead of relying on the traditional anti-magnetic inner structure, its coaxial caliber 8508 itself was created to resist the high levels of magnetism associated with scientific applications, including being inside of an MRI machine. Even Commander Bond went all in on the Aqua Terra, with 007 wearing the Aqua Terra in the film Skyfall and Spectre, giving his Seamaster divers a bit of a break amid all the action. When counting all the variations available today, the Aqua Terra lineup includes more than 140 versions from 28mm quartz models to in-your-face jeweled and precious metal iterations retailing in the upper 5 figures. Outside of case materials and sizes, there are 3 primary dial types that help differentiate the different packages. The most historically associated dial pattern in the Aqua Terra family is the teakwood, now with a horizontally striped texture. Next is the Shade series with its sunray dials in vibrant colors using PVD and CVD processes, and now the lacquer dials, probably best exemplified by these models on review. This pair of watches in 38 and 41 millimeters was released in 2024, and although the concept is not groundbreaking, it did deliver something we did not have from the existing collection: a simple non-textured black dial for the Aqua Terra with micro adjustment in the clasp, making for about as good of a daily driver as you will come across. So now let's talk about how these watches wear at 38 and 41 millimeters, and these are the 2 sizes predominantly chosen by Omega to try to cover all the wrist sizes out there. There was also a 34 millimeter version available, but that is not with us here for this review. The mid-size 38mm model is well proportioned with a case height of 12.4 millimeters and a lug-to-lug of 44.6 millimeters. The 41mm version is upsized in its dimensions with a thickness of 13.3 millimeters and a lug-to-lug of 47.9 millimeters. Still rather compact for a larger case, although the dial does make it wear larger than the lug-to-lug might let on. Water resistance is more than you would ever need for a watch of this genre at 150 meters in both versions, featuring a gently flared screw-down crown and screwed-in sapphire display caseback. Case details follow more of the Shades AT, including complete polishing on the interior surfaces of that central case, a departure from the mix of finishes on earlier iterations of the Aqua Terra, being punctuated by the classic lyre lugs. Given the polished surfaces, the twisted lugs are less detectable compared to others from Omega, as the multiple surface area planes blend together without as many distinctive breaks. Lug width measures at 20 millimeters on the 41 millimeter case and 19 millimeters on the 38. So although it can be more of a challenge finding aftermarket straps for the 38 millimeter model, Omega offers several strap options in leather or NATO style fabric, but let's be frank, you should probably just go for the standard bracelet for this one. This bracelet was updated in 2022 with the Shades release, which trades flat links for rounded screwed in links that are also comfortable in wear, but is primarily a stylistic choice more than anything else, which also are going to be slightly better at hiding some of the scratches given the rounded nature of these links. However, make no mistake, this watch will indicate its wear, no question about it, as a result of those reflective surfaces. We have vertical brushing on the narrow outer links and polishing on the rounded center links, with the bracelet tapering to a signed dual button release clasp. which also is going to exhibit a new trick up its sleeve. Omega quietly updated a mild micro adjustment system in the Manhattan constellations first, but it wasn't until it was unveiled in the new Aqua Terra black lacquer that it started to become more documented news. The micro adjustment can be activated both while on the wrist and when the clasp is open by pressing the small button on the interior portion of the clasp's architecture. Once pressed, the clasp can move to provide roughly 2 millimeters of relief. The best strategy I would deploy to get the most out of this is similar to how you would size up an Omega Speedmaster Professional. Use the lengths to size where in non-swelling conditions you are comfortable, and then on those hot days you can administer this extension in case your wrist expands. But it's important to size up the lengths with that relief in mind. You don't want to size this up to completely diminish this upside. It definitely adds some value to going for this version over others, as many of the Aqua Terras do not have this feature yet. That said, it does have shortcomings as the amount of adjustment available is insignificant, and when the clasp is at that extended position, it leaves a gap when closed, which could drive some of the more particular among us mad. For me, I don't mind this gap and prefer having this ability for adjustment over not having it at all. It is just less refined than the ideal. So just because something is obvious doesn't mean that it is any less viable. That is probably the phrase I would use to describe this black lacquer dial. Following the lacquer theme of the white Speedmaster, this Aqua Terra delivers an inverse to the theme in a 3-hand package. Far from groundbreaking, the black lacquer is still exceptional and offers more depth than you would suspect when you have it on the wrist or in the hand. Similar to the appearance to enameling done with powder, lacquer achieves a glossy look from the application of several layers of lacquer paint to the dial blank, at which point the dial is then heated at a high temperature to cure the finish. After cooling and inspection for imperfections, the dials are polished to a glossy finish, giving an unmistakable sheen. This serves as the backdrop for the familiar AT formula, including linear marked minute track, trapezoidal faceted indices with superluminova sitting at the exterior ends of their bases, with an applied logo, simple dial text, and the conventional lume-filled hands topping off the package. The superluminova shines well, though it is applied scarcely, which holds it back from being exceptional in this regard. A vertically brushed date window sits at 6, lending to tasteful symmetry, and features a color-matched black wheel beneath. Now, we've discussed Omega's coaxial calibers at length before, so I'm just gonna hit the highlight reel here. The name stems from the coaxial escapement created in 1976 by renowned watchmaker George Daniels' mission to improve on the lever escapement. The coaxial escapement most notably employs a system of 3 pallets on the fork and a modified escapement wheel that helps drastically reduce sliding friction, resulting in less lost energy through this drag of friction and longer service intervals without having the standard need of lubrication like other movements employing the Swiss lever. Omega acquired the technology from Daniels in the 1990s, and the coaxial escapement has become a pillar of the movement lineup today for the brand, along with the master chronometer standard first unveiled in 2015. These ATs hold up both of these distinct standards of Omega's continual pursuits of chronometry in the 21st century, with these quoted to run at 0 to +5 seconds a day with remarkable magnetic resistance of 15,000 Gauss, roughly the same magnetic output as an MRI machine. One important factor to realize when looking at the 38 versus the 41mm Aqua Terra is that the calibers are different. The 38mm utilizes the caliber 8800 version, while the 41mm goes with the larger caliber 8900. The 8800 offers a 55-hour power reserve off a single barrel, has 35 joules, and a quickset date that is activated at the second position, while the 8900 uses dual barrels for an extended 60 hours of power reserve, although its main purpose is for optimal stable energy flow to the balance throughout the duration of the wind from the mainsprings. It also comes with an increased joule count of 39 and swaps the quickset date function for a quickset jumping hour function in both directions, and this is also tied to the date. This is a real convenience for travelers who cross multiple time zones, as timekeeping can continue uninterrupted while changing the local time once you've reached your destination, coming with the sacrifice of more time required to set the date. Move-it finishing is attractive with rhodium plating, red infilled engraving, and then also that arabesque finish on the bridges and the rotor. So I remember when I was transitioning to my adult life and was trying to develop my sense of style with clothing. Now, one of the biggest learning experiences for me was building that initial foundation. When we are just getting started in this endeavor of style, an ability to recognize how certain pieces can seamlessly integrate, or in other words, articles of clothing that provide no opposition in being able to be chosen daily, becomes a massive breakthrough. As much as we don't like to admit it, there are many days and applications when going for what is safe, easy, or even boring is the sensible choice. This is not a perfect apples to apples comparison to this idea when applying it to watches, but my point here is that often it's the watches that can be viable in the most circumstances of your life that are often the best watches for you, which is precisely why this Aqua Terra excels. This AT does have its pitfalls. The overly polished case will show wear even more than normal. The on-the-fly adjustment is nice, yet lacks refinement, especially with that exposed gap when extended. And the watch couldn't be farther from groundbreaking from a design point of view. Nevertheless, Omega didn't have anything as simple as this available in the contemporary lineup until this was released. And since that point, this has been the single best-selling Aqua Terra in our store. In my discussions with collectors and clients who decide to purchase this piece, the same ideas are echoed. The black dial is simple yet beautiful, the finishing and movement are both stellar, and most importantly, it's one of the most versatile luxury watches currently on the market that is easy to wear daily. Sound points for this watch that I am not going to argue against. But all right guys, that is my take looking at the black lacquer Aqua Terra. These are watches that on many points are rather boring. They don't necessarily do anything that's so different, but when you look at what Omega was missing, it was something like this. I mean, Rolex has their Explorer, they have their OPs with this similar type of approach with its dial and being able to be so versatile. Omega had the teakwood designs, which yes, they definitely have that same capability on that front, but probably not as seamless as these black lacquers will be. So this was also just something that I think Omega was missing in their contemporary collection. So in short, a watch that delivers all that upside, but maybe does it in a package that is just so obvious that maybe we don't give it enough appreciation that it deserves. That's basically my take on this one. If you guys have had the opportunity to try this one on or own this watch, love to see some comments down below. That is really helpful for people that are navigating this as a collector. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please give this one a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Really do appreciate that. That does help out the channel. Also check out teddyballthishair.com. Teddyballthishair.com is an authorized dealer for all the brands that we carry, including Omega. Every purchase from our website comes with quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. Also, if you're ever in the market in Cleveland, Ohio, looking for a watch, definitely do stop into our boutique. That boutique is there to support watch enthusiasts. It's run by watch enthusiasts, and any purchase from our store allows us to keep doing what we're doing here as well. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.